If a liar tells you he is lying, is he telling the truth? My name is Shehan Karunatilaka. I'm the author of The Seven Moons of Maali, Almeida, which won the Booker Prize in 2022.
The winner of the 2022 Booker Prize is The Seven Moons of Maali, Almeida.
The winner of the £50,000 2022 Booker Prize for Fiction is Shehan Karunatilaka for The Seven Moons of Maali, Almeida. Her Majesty the Queen Consort will award the trophy.
Watch me on YoIndiaTV.
Namaskar, we are at South Asian Literature and Art Festival 2024. Joining us at YoIndiaTV right now is Shehan Karunatilaka, who has come all the way from Sri Lanka. So welcome, sir, to YoIndiaTV. And how's the feel?
Good, I'm enjoying. I've come a long way. It's half a world away, yeah, had some very good conversations, signed a few books, and I've been enjoying the sunshine. So it's been good.
Everyone is after Shehan right now in the festival, and I just saw a very long queue of book signings. So thanks for your patience. Your book, The Seven Moons of Maali, Almeida, which is published as The Birth Lottery in India, won the 2022 Booker Prize, which is probably the highest award anyone can receive in literature. So tell us a little more about the book and your frame of mind when you were penning it down.
Well, it was a long process. The book is it's set during Sri Lanka's civil war around 1989-90, and it's about a dead war photographer who has 7 days to find out who killed him. There's a lot of other parts, but he goes around talking to the many victims of Sri Lanka's war. So it's a murder mystery, it's a ghost story, it's a love triangle, it's also a bit of ghost talking about philosophy and politics and all of that. So there's a lot going on, and I wrote it over 7 years, and it was a long process, and when it finally came out, I moved on to a new book, but I was greeted with the wonderful surprise that it got longlisted for a big award like this, and that was during Sri Lanka was going through a turbulent time at that moment with petrol queues and the protest movement, and in the midst of that, this happened, and I guess the book has travelled and it's been read widely around the world, and yeah, I've got to travel as well. But yeah, can't wait to get back to Colombo and start finishing the next one. But it's been a good journey.
He's in a waiting room and he doesn't know which queue to join. At one point he's holding a piece of paper which he has to take to a counter. This is what the afterlife looks like according to this book. It made sense to me that the afterlife should be as disorganized as the life down here, which maybe one thing explains the other. But also it was a suitably absurd enough situation that I decided to pursue it, because when you're writing a ghost story where the ghost is visible on page 1, usually the convention of the ghost story is you don't see them till the final act. So therefore I had to explain the environment the ghost was in, and that took a bit of work, took a bit of reading, took a bit of imagination. But this one is the one that made sense, that the afterlife is a bureaucracy, and that's why there are lots of souls who are stuck in limbo, who are waiting for their visa to the next. And, you go to the Sri Lankan passport office today and you will see similar scenes unfolding. And it just seemed a good way to start a ghost story.
So 7 years is a pretty long period, It's very hard to keep that kind of patience and continuity, because there might be gaps in terms of days and weeks when you would pen it down. So how do you catch it up, and how do you make sure that it flows along well in totality?
Well, it's not unusual. There are many talented writers who've spent 10 years on a book. Sometimes it takes as long as it takes, but I write every day. I think most proper writers, that's what we do. We write every day, even on Sundays, and the book evolves as fast as it does. Maybe the next one will be quicker, But the first one was 4 years, this one was 7 years. But ironically, now that I can write full time, I spend most of my time traveling and giving interviews. That's the irony. But hopefully, I can get back to writing. And yeah.
So apologies, we are breaking your routine in some way.
I'm on holiday now, so it's okay.
You are wearing a safari jacket and faded jeans and cannot remember how you got here. You wear one shoe and have 3 chains and a camera around your neck. The camera is your trusty Nikon 3 ST, but the lens is smashed and the casing is cracked. You look through the viewfinder and all you see is mud. Time to wake up, Maali boy. You pinch yourself and it hurts, less like a short stab and more like the hollow ache of an insult. You are in a queue, shouting at a woman in a white sari seated behind a fiberglass counter. Who hasn't been furious at women behind counters before? Certainly not you. Most Lankans are silent seethers, but you like to complain at the top of your lungs. Not saying your fault, not saying my fault, but mistakes happen, no? Especially in government offices. What to do? This is not a government office. I don't care, auntie. I'm just saying, I can't be here. I have photos to share. I'm in a committed relationship. I am not your auntie. You look around. Behind you, a queue weaves around pillars and snakes along walls. The air is foggy, though no one appears to be exhaling smoke or carbon dioxide. It looks like a car park with no cars or a market space with nothing to sell. Even close up, the figures look blurry-edged with talcum skin and have eyes that blaze in colours not customary for brown folk. Some are dressed in hospital smocks, some have dried blood on their clothes, some are missing limbs. All are shouting at the woman in white. This appears to be a gathering point for those with questions about their death. The afterlife is a tax office, and everyone wants their rebate.
I'm also seeing Chinaman, the Legend of Pradeep Mathew, which was selected for UK's 2022 Big Jubilee Read selection. So tell us a little more about this book as well.
Chinaman was a book about cricket. It was about a genius cricketer who played for Sri Lanka in the 80s called Pradeep Mathew. And it's also about an old sports journalist, bit of a drunkard who's dying, and he wants to track down this great cricketer who he believes was the greatest, better than Murali, better than Shane Warne, better than Kumble. He was the greatest spinner. And that's how it started. I wanted to write a book about Sri Lanka that didn't mention the war and was centered around the 96 World Cup and that fairy tale win. And of course it goes to different places, but it's basically, it's a detective story of this guy tracking down this cricketer. So that very different tone to Seven Moons, which was very much about the war and ghosts, this was a bit more light-hearted and just about Sri Lankan cricket and its rise and its fall. And at the moment it's in a rise at the moment, so we're enjoying it. But it was a fun book to write. But it was my first, and I didn't expect too much. But again, it's slowly over the years built up a following, and as I've got a lot of readers in India. I think that was the main thing that kept me going, the 7 years of writing this one. If a liar tells you he is lying, is he telling the truth?
Pradeep, who? Begin with a question. An obvious one. So obvious it has already crossed your mind. Why have I not heard of this so-called Pradeep Mathew? This subject has been researched lengthwise and breadthwise. I have analyzed every match our man has played in. Why, you ask, has no one heard of our nation's greatest cricketer? Here, in no particular order. Wrong place, wrong time, money and laziness. Politics, racism, power cuts, and plain bad luck.
So, how do you choose the diction for a particular write-up, how the complexity of sentences, the ease of using certain words, or, making a choice of relatively less known words for common readers is done?
I think you write from the voice of the book. So depending on the character who's narrating it or the tone of the book, you will choose your language accordingly. you want your book to be accessible, so you're not going to use difficult words that's not going to be accessible to readers. You're trying to tell the story as clearly as possible. But I think, yeah, voice is an important thing, because you can have plot, character, but until you have a voice, and I think in South Asia we have very unique ways of speaking English, ways of writing English. Whether you go to India, Pakistan or Nepal, Bangladesh, we have our own style of English, and I think the world is also starting to be interested in our unique stories told in our way. So I think the decision is something that happens when you're interacting with the book and the book is talking to you. It tells you what it wants to be.
Mr. Karunasena, your liver is being destroyed, and it will get worse. At least I have my heart. My giggle is as pathetic as my attempt at humor. He ignores it and begins scribbling. Can't you give me pills? I can give you pills for the nausea and the fever. I can also refer you to our alcohol counselor. The doctor tears off a chit branded by a pharmaceutical company I have not heard of. The rest, uncle, is up to you. How much time? I keep my tone even and my eyes fixed, hoping the pup won't see that the old dog is ruffled. If you stop drinking and start eating, exercising, uncle can bat on for another 10, 20 years. The things they don't teach you at school. How to love, how to die, how to stage a dramatic comeback. Is it possible to hammer 3 goals in extra time after trailing 2-0? Or to land a knockout punch at the end of the 12th? Is it too late to score at 10 and over and turn a paltry 170 into a magnificent 300? In my life, I have seen beauty only twice. I am not talking Taruniya magazine front cover beauty. I am talking staggering beauty. Something so beautiful it can make you cry. 64 years, 2 things of beauty. One I have failed to cherish, the other I may yet be able to. Sheila at the Gaul Face Hotel, 31st night dinner dance, 1963. P.S. Mathew versus New Zealand at Asgiria, 1987. What if I cut down to 2 drinks a day? He doesn't look surprised, but at least he lets go of the smile. A year or 2, maybe more. Thus it was settled. I would attempt to do a halfway decent documentary on Sri Lankan cricket. There is nothing more inspiring than a solid deadline.
So a lot of people think that now, since there is so much going on in the internet and the videos are coming on apps like WhatsApp that are taking away so much of people's attention, they are more easily accessible, they are produced in a way that it's easy to watch them, and with the hell lot of networking and messages going around in this fast-paced era, it is commonly mentioned that long novels or books are, some instruments that would be, taking attention of the people in a smaller way, and the other media is getting more footage, more attention, more span. So what's your take on that?
No, I think, look, we've had cinema for 100 years, we've had television for maybe half that time, and there's always been, me growing up, video games and distractions. But the book has continued to endure. I mean, 10 years ago when the Kindle came out, they said, okay, now we're not going to buy books, it's all going to be but books are still selling, and I have a Kindle, I listen to audiobooks, but we still have this old bookshelves. I still want to finish it, smell it, put it up there. And I think, look, there's lots of distractions. You've got your Netflixers and your phone and everything, but I think people are finding out for their own mental health, reading for half an hour before you sleep or as soon as you wake up is a wonderful thing you can do. And you don't have to read high literature or award-winning books. Read whatever you like, but I think people find that if you're doing that with your phone every night. So I think books aren't going to go away, and especially one day they're going to turn off the internet, and then people think we didn't have internet in the 1980s, we were fine. When they turn off the internet, then what? Then we'll be back to all your photographs, everything gone. So I think books are okay. I think, and I would encourage everyone, play your games, watch your streaming, do that, but half an hour a day, if you just read something, your mind will be much more peaceful.
So I remember walking around a lot. We lived near the hospital. There were these big grounds and there were hills and trees, and I'd listen to my Walkman and walk around thinking these dark, depressed 15-year-old thoughts. And the main thought was, how the hell am I going to survive for 3 more years in this shitty town, in this awful school with these horrible people? How am I going to do this? And I remember asking the universe, I don't know if I believed in God at the time, but asking the universe, just give me a sign that this is going to pass and there's going to be something after this, anything. And the sign did come in the form of a book. And yes, it was an open book, in case you thought I forgot the topic of discussion tonight. It was an open book. It was open at the middle page, which will be why it'll become apparent in a bit. So I was sitting on this hill thinking my dark thoughts, and there in the leaves, I saw something that was shiny, and I rustled up the leaves, and in a plastic cover was a copy of Mayfair magazine. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mayfair is like a gentleman's magazine for those for whom Penthouse is a bit too highbrow. So I know in terms of signs from the God, this is not exactly Star of Bethlehem stuff, but for a 15-year-old, miserable 15-year-old, to find a girly mag hidden in the leaves where you're sitting there being depressed, it was proof that there was someone up there or down there who was looking after me. I don't need to tell you the moral of the story. I'm here at the Auckland Writers Festival. You all know about the power of books to save your soul, to change your life, to give you something to live for, all that stuff. But I just like to tell you that the book that changes your life, it doesn't have to be Moby Dick or Midnight's Children or Love in the Time of Cholera. It could be a copy of Mayfair magazine with the pages stuck together, hidden amidst the leaves, on a hill in Wanganui. Thank you.
And we encourage students, from a very tender age as well, to get into reading, develop that habit. It's a great opportunity to explore another world through the eyes of the writer, which is a big thing. And it is generally said that an author can't write beyond what his heart can imagine, what his brain can imagine. What's your take on that?
Well, who knows what the brain can? Now we're just finding out the brain is infinite, the heart hopefully is infinite, and there are ideas everywhere. So I don't worry too much about that. I'm very slow. I've written 2 books in 15 years. So I think I'm not going to run out of, maybe now with the chat GPT and all that, now, the machine can imagine. But the machine can only regurgitate what's been done. The new books, the new ideas still come from human brains, and I think our imagination is pretty boundless and infinite. So I don't worry about. The hard thing is once you get the idea is to sit and write it. But maybe the machines can help with that as well. So who knows? I'm not worried about that. Yeah.
So how do you think that this book should be captured around this theme, and these are the highlight characters and subject for the book?
When you're writing a new book,
Yeah.
Everyone has ideas, and I'm no different. You think of something, you hear a story, you read something in the papers, you think that'll be an interesting story from this point of view. In the end, I think I treat it like a job. I turn up every day and I tackle the story. And I think with a novel, you got to find a subject or character that you're going to be interested in, because it takes so long. Even the fast writers, it takes at least 1 year, 2 years of your life. And so I think that's been my guide. Like, I think, okay, this is an interesting story. Can I write it? Am I interested enough to live with this for 2-3 years? So in the case of the cricket story, the ghost story, I thought there was enough to keep me interested. So I think that's really what keeps you going, because you need to be interested in it, otherwise no one else will be. So yeah.
Pradeep, why? Another question. Why am I chasing a man who played only 4 test matches for Sri Lanka? A man who denied me interviews, delighted me on occasion, disappointed those he played with, and disappeared 3 years ago. A man whose name is remembered by a minority smaller than our tribal Vadda population. I ask myself this right after my bath and my morning tea. So, when did Pradeep Mathew stop being just another Lankan spinner of the 1980s? When did he become something worth obsessing over? A cause I would champion? To answer that, I will take you to a boxing match between 2 men in dinner jackets. One was my dearest friend, the other my oldest enemy. The simplest dismissal is when the bowler knocks over the batsman's wickets. Mathew did this with most of his victims. He sent left-arm Chinamen, googlies, arm balls and darters through pads and feet. Here is a not-so-random sample of batsmen whose bails he dislodged. Border, Chappell, Crow, Gatting, Gavaskar, Gower, Greenidge, Hadley, Imran, Kapil, Lloyd, Meandad.
Any real-life incidents or characters that have primarily influenced your writing?
Yeah, well, Sri Lankan history is full of characters and incidents, and so with the first book with Chinaman, it was the 96 World Cup, but the lead up, because before the 96 World Cup, we were the youngest test nation, we didn't have many opportunities, lost a lot, so that whole saga which we lived through, and then we had this victory in 96, and then we had a golden age, and then, so for me, it was the real life story of Sri Lankan cricket. With the second book, it was that period of 89 where there were many unsolved murders, and many of those victims ended up being in the book as ghosts. So yeah, there's real life characters throughout both books.
So to all the young readers who also want some tips from you into writing, what's your message?
Well, I would say, firstly, read every day, whether you want to write or not. I would say you'll find the benefits, even if it's 15-20 minutes. I would say that, because it takes you out of your silly little head into someone else's mind, and I think that's always a good thing. But if you want to be a writer, there's many places you can get advice, many great schools you can go to, but the basic advice doesn't change. You need to do it every day. Read every day, write every day, and do it for as long as it takes. So I think if you can do that, you're half the way there. Yeah.
A lot of artists actually think that it's hard to be an artist full time due to the financial issues that they may be running into. If you don't earn for a while, it doesn't help the family much or yourself. You don't want to put yourself into that position either. So how have you managed your financials, and what is your advice to all the potential artists?
So I think it's a lot easier now. Like maybe a generation ago, that was the talk, study engineering, accountancy, study something that will be useful. Painting and writing maybe not so useful. But I think now, looking in 2024, a lot of those jobs are going to be replaced by technology. And with my case, it was, I always wrote, I always read, but I worked my day job. So 90% of writers, I would say 10%, maybe less, earn a living from their books. Everyone else, either they teach, or in my case, I worked in advertising for many years. And then as a freelance advertising writer, feature writer, did a bit of journalism. And so I think you'd keep that balance. It's constantly you think, okay, should I give up my job and be a full-time artist? Should I give up my art and go up the corporate ladder? But I think after COVID, where we were all working from home, it made that simpler. I realized I can do both. I can earn a living doing my freelance, I can do my novel writing, and it doesn't matter. Then it takes the pressure. Even if the novel's not successful, I'm still looking at, and I think that's what now you're able to do that. Before you have to make a decision, I go to office and I ignore my art. I think for the kids now, and there's more opportunities, there's more tools, and so I would say don't wait. Don't do a job you hate and wait. You should find some, do the job you hate if you need to pay the bills, fine. But find, even a little 10-20 minutes to do your thing. It'll help your soul. And so I think you can do both. And then, if you're lucky, it was after 20 years that I finally, a book became successful. So, just do it because you love doing it. And that's why most of us do it.
Brilliant. I think that was very insightful and very encouraging and inspiring to all of those artists and writers or people who are doing some full-time job but also have some hobbies or some passion on the side. And clearly this shows that you can even get a Booker Prize when you have focused on something else as a day job, but if you're great at it, you never know where you land. So that's very, very nice. Any final words before we sign out?
No, that's. I think that's good advice. Do it every day, even if you're working the day job. If you just do 1 hour every day, you will within a year, within 2 years, you'll have something. So, but no, all I'd say is I'm quite blessed to be invited here, and looking forward to checking out the rest of the festival.
Thank you.